talk about pry bars and maybe how to make them. Pry bars, there's a lot of manufacturers of these out there. Now, it used to be only one, but now there's 2 or 3. And really the only difference is, well, price, quite honestly. They're all made from the same material. They're all laser cut. They're regardless of manufacturer, whether it's Peterson or Southord or Technical Entry. If you take them and you put them, I mean, aside from a groove cut into the side of one of the manufacturers, they are absolutely identical in every dimension. So they're all using the same plan or the same scan. They're using the same equipment, the same materials. So I thought, hey, why don't I try to make them? So I started making them, and here's one I made. When I use these, I almost use them in always top of the keyway. You can use them in the bottom. A lot of people do. But what I found is when I take one of them and I put it in the top of the keyway as it comes, the angle for me is not quite right. It's just a little bit awkward. So I started modifying the ones I made, and I put a little bend in them. And for me, that's more comfortable, with one exception. I like my finger to ride on the entire length of the pry bar or tension tool of any kind. So I like it a little bit longer. And as you see, all the nerves are in the tip of my finger, and everybody's fingers. The more of your finger you have on the tension tool, the more of the feedback that you're going to be able to detect. So when you have a tension tool that's just a little bit too short, as you see here, well, it's just not, you're not going to benefit. So if this was just about an inch longer, for me, it would be the perfect length. Now, you may prefer to make it a little bit longer, as I'm getting ready to demonstrate, or you might decide to go ahead and just manufacture the original pry bar. Well, how do you do it? What do you use? Knives, gentlemen. You use knives. These are dollar store knives. I think I paid $1 or $1.50, maybe $1.26, $1.25 for a big pile of these knives. And you know, I went to the dollar store, and I really hadn't intended to buy anything. But when I got these packages and I saw, I'm gonna have to put it in here almost sideways. When I saw stainless steel for $1.25. For those of you who buy materials for a shop, you know that stainless steel is one of the most expensive things that you can buy. So when I saw stainless steel knives, I didn't buy any. Instead, I went back, got my micrometer, and then I came back to the dollar store and I started measuring the knives. And what I discovered is that the thin bread knife is exactly 30 thousandths of an inch stainless steel. And then the thicker bread knife is exactly 0.050, 50 thousandths of an inch stainless steel, which coincidentally are the exact dimensions that you can buy these pry bars in. One is 50 thousandths, called the original, from all manufacturers. And then the other one, it's a little bit thinner. This one happens to be from Technical Entry, and it is just a little bit thinner, but every other dimension is identical. Well, when I discovered that, I thought, well, how's this going to work? Well, here we go, guys. Here's how I laid both of these out. All I did was I took the pry bar and I just traced it on the back. And you see, when I made it, and it may be a little difficult to see, I just extended it by about an inch to accommodate my finger. Of course, you don't have to do that. And I'm not going to bore you with the machine work, but what we're going to do is we're simply going to take our Dremel tool, sorry, had a brain fart there, and we're just going to cut this apart. We're going to cut it off of the handle, and we're going to cut through here with the Dremel tool, and then from that point we're going to take it and put it on the grinding machine and grind it down to dimensions. So I will get that done, and I'll come back and show you where we are. Okay, here they are, the 30 thousandths and the 50 thousandths roughed out, and they're of course are the originals, one from Peterson, the other from Technical Entry, so they're almost identical. We still got a little bit of filing to do, a little bit of cleaning up, and we got to put the grooves on, but other than that we're getting very close. Total elapsed time is 18 minutes. Okay, we're going to cut the little offset in the end of the wrench, and I'll just use a regular needle file. I'll first cut a groove so I can get it nice and square. And let's see if I can get the camera in there for this. Okay, come on, focus, baby. So there's what the groove will look like. And then I'll just file off that outer notch. And then we'll have our groove. We'll do that to both ends. Okay, next we're going to try to cut those really fine grooves, those serrations in the tip of it. And for that we're going to use two tools. First of all, if you can get one of these jeweler's magnifiers, that'll help you a lot, especially if you've got older eyes like mine. The second thing you're going to want is a needle file that's triangular. It comes down to a very fine edge. Usually the upper edge is flat, but the lower side is like a knife edge. And then let's see if we can just go ahead and do this around the camera. Okay, I'm going to place it on the outer tip about where I want my first groove and give it a shot. Okay, we got everything shaped pretty much the way we want them. The only problem now is that all of the edges are still really sharp. So I don't want to cut my already abused hands any more than they are. So I'm going to mount it up in a vise. And I'm just going to use a triangular file. Get this centered. Use a triangular file. I'm just going to take the edge off. This is just a preliminary step. We don't want to take off too much. And I'm going to do that all the way to all the edges of the tension tool. And then we'll move to the next step. For this next step, we've already got a real rough edge on all of our tension tools. So right now we want to round it off even more perfectly. And what we're going to do, we're going to take 240 sandpaper, and I've cut it into 10-inch strips, about 24 centimeters. And I like to do everything fast. You guys know that. And this is exactly the way I work on my picks. I just put it on there and I just start going back and forth. And kind of keep an eye on it because it doesn't take very long to get just an absolutely perfect rounded edge on there. And see, I've already gotten it. So I'm going to do that to both tension tools, and then we'll go with the next step. Okay, I think if you look closely you can see we got a pretty good edge going here. It's not perfect, but what do you expect from 240 grain sandpaper? So now we're going to move to something different. We're going to move to a little bit finer grain, and I've cut strips of 400 God, I'm having a brain cramp here. 400 grain, 400 sandpaper, 400 grit sandpaper. And now we're going to do the exact same thing, and we're going to notice that it's going to get much nicer and start to shine. Then we'll move to the next step. Okay, these are really starting to shape up. Now we've got kind of a nice rounded edge on all four of the tools. Unlike that factory one, which is squared off and kind of has that saw finish from the laser etching, this is nice and smooth, rounded, kind of pleasant to touch. So this is clearly a custom tension tool. So let's go ahead and polish this up. Okay, we are almost done. Now we need to worry about the aesthetics. Our edges look really good. They're nice and shiny, but the sides of them look like caca. And of course, we'd be ashamed to be caught using these in public. So I am going to take an idea that I saw on YouTube. I want to say it was Kokomo Locke who came up with this idea, and I hope I'm right. I'm making a guess. But anyway, whoever did it, and I believe it was Coco, thanks a lot. He recommended taking a phone book or a book and simply folding sheets of sandpaper, putting it inside the book, and then putting your pick or whatever inside of it, and then going back and forth. And so that's what we're going to do here on the edge of the table. And we're going to progress. And I put 320, 400, 600, and the very top sheet is 1000. So I'm going to start with 320, polish both sides of it, move to 400, move to 600, and then bam, move to 1000. And I'm going to do that for all four of our picks. And hopefully we'll have a nice finish when we're done. Okay, here we are, 51 minutes after we started this mess. We ended up with 4 tools. The other 2 still need to be polished, but this is what they came out looking like. You can see well, at least I can hope you see that the finish on these is much nicer than on the commercial ones. Same function, except the only difference is mine are about an inch longer, which is what I was shooting for here. They do fit perfectly in the lock if I want to use the long one or the short one. I might still put a bend in these because the angle is still not comfortable, so I'll probably put a slight bend in them. But other than that, these are finished in 51 minutes for basically 4 tools. That's a lot better than 20 euros for something else. You know, I might even file myself a little groove right in the middle of that, so then I can say it looks like a commercial one. Anyway, thanks for your time, thanks for watching, and everybody stay safe and stay legal.